A desert planet with twin suns.
Why do I sense we've picked up another pathetic life form?
Use my knowledge. Much to learn. You still have.
Welcome back to Twin Sun Talks, folks. I'm your host, Jonah Liu. Thank you so much for listening. And welcome back to The Ability to Speak Does Not Make You Intelligent.
The ability to speak does not make you intelligent.
On this month, I have all three of my roommates. We are all in the same house right now. We are all in the middle of a freeze in College Station, so we figured might as well all get on together. So my roommate John Grimes is back on. John, how you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you. And then on for the first time, we have Christian Stanley. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing all right.
All right, sounds good. And then Christos Georgiadis. How you doing?
Actually spectacular. Thanks for asking.
Dude, that's so amazing to hear. Anyways, so Christian and Christos, y'all are on for the first time. So what I'm going to need from y'all is essentially your profile. So I'm going to need your favorite character, your favorite movie, your favorite show, and then if you could have a lightsaber, what color would it be? So I'm going to start off with Christian. Christian, hit me with your answers.
All right. For my favorite character, I'd probably have to go with Jango Fett, just because from as long as I can remember, I've always thought he was really cool.
Yeah, totally.
Favorite movie, I can't pick one because it literally depends on how I feel when I wake up that certain day.
Respect.
But it's between Revenge of the Sith and Empire Strikes Back.
I can totally respect that. Those are great choices.
Mm-hmm. For a favorite show, would have to say the Clone Wars.
Excellent choice.
And then lightsaber color, it's a bit basic, but I'd go with blue.
Yeah, love it, man.
Nothing wrong with basic.
Nothing wrong at all. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Christos, what are your answers?
I don't have a lot of time to think about this, but for characters, I liked Darth Vader a lot because of his character development in the end before he died.
Of course.
And I don't know the different movie names, so I don't know. But I like them. I like the movies where it was about Anakin. So like the ones before Luke was a thing. I like those movies more. I like the ones where they had like it was like a sandy place.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like
Yep.
and they were riding those things and racing them or whatever. That was cool.
Yeah.
I was building them or what. And favorite show, I started The Mandalorian, so I watched like an episode of that. It was cool, but I forgot about it. So that's my favorite show. And my favorite lightsaber color is probably also blue because I just like the color blue.
Dope. Sounds good. And just to contextualize everything, I would say that Christos, how would you rank yourself as far as like knowledge wise in the Star Wars?
0.5 out of
5
10.
out of 10. Okay, fair enough. And we try to cater to every demographic of Star Wars fan in this podcast. So you're going to be able to provide some helpful insight, I think. But I appreciate both of y'all giving your profiles. Without further ado, let's dive into This Is Where the Fun Begins.
This is where the fun begins.
Alrighty, so basically what the segment is, this is just kind of a game segment where we just kind of have fun and talk to each other. So the first game that we're going to be playing is Star Wars versus everything else, which is where we pit Star Wars characters or elements of the Star Wars franchise against elements from other franchises like Marvel, Lord of the Rings, DC, Harry Potter, all that sort of stuff. So the first one that we have, and I talked with Christian about this one yesterday, and we think that it's a pretty entertaining thing, but it would be General Grievous, who Christos, that's the guy with 4 arms and lightsabers. He's the robot guy.
I remember
in episode 3. Versus the Hulk with a lightsaber. So the Hulk has a lightsaber versus Grievous as he is with his lightsabers and his cybernetic enhancements and stuff like that. So I'll open the floor. Christian, since you're the one that helped me come up with this question, why don't you start us off?
I mean, I think I gotta go with Hulk with a lightsaber, just because despite his size, he's still very agile, but he's also got a lot of brute force.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be pretty hard for Grievous to stop him.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree, especially since Grievous isn't force sensitive. John, what are your thoughts? I'm gonna save mine for last.
So, I think this depends on what Hulk specifically. If we're talking early, like Avengers Hulk, I don't think he would even use the lightsaber. I think he would just try punching Grievous, and that would not end well for him.
Let's say like Thor Ragnarok Hulk, where he's like a gladiator and he's capable of using weapons.
Okay, yeah, if he's capable of using weapons, then definitely the Hulk. I don't think any amount of lightsaber like stance could hold back the brute strength, as Christian was saying.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, no, I can understand that. Christos, do you have any thoughts?
I agree because, as you said, Grievous wasn't force sensitive, so all he can do is spin the lightsabers round and round. And theoretically, since Hulk is so strong, if you just punched him a couple times, since he is made of metal and he's not like a human, he would break.
Yeah,
So
it's
that's
true.
my logic.
Yeah, no, I would tend to agree with all of y'all. I think that because our initial stipulation was like just Hulk without a lightsaber, and I think that Grievous wins in that regard because, I mean, I think a lightsaber could probably dismember the Hulk. Like,
Yep.
even though he's pretty durable overall, I know that like I think in the comics, like Wolverine's claws were able to cut him, so I would assume a lightsaber could. But if you give the Hulk a lightsaber, I think that he's gonna be pretty hard to beat in that
Yeah,
case.
especially
also
if
has
you
to-
don't have the Force.
Yeah.
He has to be aware to use the lightsaber, but if he is, I think it's very one-sided.
Yeah, and I think that even if Hulk like didn't have a lightsaber, I think that he could still put up a pretty good fight against Grievous. But
Hopefully.
no, I would agree that Hulk would probably beat Grievous in that scenario. Okay, next up we have Gandalf the Grey from the Lord of the Rings franchise against Mace Windu. Who feels compelled to take this one on? Christos, do you know who Mace Windu is?
Mace Windu. Yeah,
I think we need to
yeah.
give him a bit of time.
No, yeah, no, I do.
Purple-
I just got them.
Pur-
I got the names confused, but I do.
Purple
He's the purple
lightsaber,
one.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, does anyone feel compelled to try this one out first?
I really don't, but I guess
Okay.
I'll go first
Go for it.
because I think it'll be very funny.
Yeah.
As someone who has only read the first two Lord of the Rings books in middle school and has seen none of the movies, I still think Gandalf would win. I think because I remember him being ridiculously strong, and I know he basically gets resurrected. I don't know fully how it works.
Yeah.
But I imagine from what I know that he's extremely, extremely strong. And I don't think spells work the same way like they do in like the Harry Potter universe where they're kind of lasers. And I know that you've talked on previous episodes that lightsabers could probably reflect spells.
Yeah.
So I think Gandalf would probably win.
That's fair. Fair point. Christian and Christos, what do y'all think?
I think honestly it's kind of hard because I don't think we've ever really seen Gandalf go all out before, so we
I
kind of
agree.
don't know what he's like what he can do.
Yeah.
So just off of that, I'd probably have to give it to Mace Windu.
Fair enough. I like that answer. Christos, do you have any thoughts?
I think. I mean, it's kind of hard to conceptualize because he
Yeah.
does also have the Force, and a lightsaber would probably instantly kill Gandalf in really close combat. So I think I would give it to Mace Windu.
I would agree. The biggest thing is that for me is that Mace Windu has a very specific form of lightsaber combat called Vapad. And essentially what that does is it cycles essentially force energy from his opponent to him and then back to his opponent, where he's essentially using up all of his opponent's energy before he even uses any of his. And so it's like a battle of attrition, basically, who can outlast the other person. I don't know that that would necessarily apply to Gandalf because Gandalf obviously doesn't use the Force, but I do think that Windu is a skilled enough fighter on his own because Vapad, aside from like the element that it kind of like feeds off of other people's force energy, is like a state of mind. It's a very aggressive form. I think that he'd be able to catch Gandalf off guard, but I completely agree with you, Christian, where it's like we don't really ever see Gandalf like really like go all out, so we don't necessarily know what his potential is. So but also Mace Windu is my favorite character, and I'm always going to say that he will win. In pretty much any scenario. So I'm very biased, but I am going to agree that Mace Windu wins in this
Even
scenario.
against Palpatine.
He did win against Palpatine.
And it's true, he did. He won.
You got something you want to say, Christian?
What was
No,
his prize
no.
for winning?
Because he
Not at all.
did. Like in the movie, it happened.
Yeah.
So I mean, we already
Especially
see
when
the
he, fell out the window.
uh Yeah, but
Mace window.
that wasn't Sidious beating. That wasn't Sidious beating Windu. Windu had already beat Sidious in that scenario. But Anakin's betrayal caught Windu off guard, in which case Sidious was able to force lightning him out the window.
Unlucky,
He should
really.
just, be better at not getting distracted next time. But I guess there won't be a next time.
No, he's alive, man. He's coming back in the Book of Boba Fett season 2. Anyways, so okay, we only got one more Star Wars versus everything else planned, and that is, could Superman withstand a blast from the Death Star?
That's
Superman-
a fascinating question.
Planets.
Superman as he exists in like the DCEU, like the Zack Snyder Man of Steel Superman. Yes, the Death Star does destroy planets, Christos. So Christos, do you want to start this one out? You haven't started one yet.
No, I wanna. Well, I haven't really. Well, I'm not the biggest Marvel guy either,
This is not.
so I haven't
Marvel.
really.
That's not Marvel.
What is it?
It's DC.
I'm not the biggest DC guy either,
Yeah.
but like I haven't seen a lot of fights with Superman in them, so I haven't seen like what he has withstood before.
That's fair.
But he would like to give me examples. I mean, I
Okay,
think.
so
I mean, if it destroys planets, then I don't think that he should be able to.
the thing with Superman is really his only weakness is kryptonite.
Mhm.
And so we've seen him like crash through buildings and be completely fine. We've seen him get nuked and be completely fine. So in the DCEU. And so I mean, if that changes anything, he also derives his power from sunlight.
Mhm.
So I don't know. Does that change your
Uh,
answer at all?
No, I'd say he. I say Death Star wins.
Death Star wins. Okay. John,
Mhm.
Christian.
You want to go first, Christian?
Yeah, sure, I'll go first. So, I mean, I agree with the whole like the if they don't have access to kryptonite, then I think it'd be pretty hard. And also if he derives his power from the sun, if we can stretch it a little bit and assume that, somehow the sun in the Star Wars universe is different from what we've seen,
Mm-hmm.
then maybe he'd have the power of Kyber crystal in him a little bit.
Yeah, that's true.
So maybe he'd be resistant to it more,
Yeah.
be able to deflect it like he would with like a lightsaber.
Yeah.
So I think if we're going off of that, then there's no way that Superman wouldn't survive.
I think that's a really interesting point, and I'd like to speak to that, but I'll let John go first.
I really have nothing else to add. It's just Superman is invincible unless he's exposed to kryptonite. So no kryptonite in the Star Wars universe just means he would obliterate anything and just always win.
That's fair. Well, first of all, I'm pretty sure that's actually like yellow sunlight. So since Earth has like a yellow sun, and for that reason, he's able to have his powers. Like if there's this planet with a red sun, then he doesn't have his powers. But anyways, speaking to what Christian said, in Rogue One, we hear I think his name's Chirrut. I never remember his name, but it's the blind guy from Rogue One, and he tells Jyn Erso that the brightest stars have hearts of Kyber, and so I think that it is actually a pretty interesting like thing to think about, is like if Superman absorbs like power from a star with like a heart of Kyber, would he then like inherit like kind of force like capabilities as well? But also like if we're saying that stars have hearts of Kyber, and then you're just shooting him with a laser beam because the Death Star is powered by Kyber crystals. You're just shooting him with a beam of ionized Kyber. Are you just making him stronger by shooting him with basically a beam of concentrated sunlight? So I would agree that Superman would probably win, especially since kryptonite isn't involved. I don't think that it would phase him. I think it might knock him on his butt for a little bit, but for the most part, I think that he'd be fine.
I didn't even know the Kyber Crystal Sun thing. I didn't remember that.
Yeah.
That's
It was
cool.
like a little cryptic saying that the blind guy said in Rogue One. Um,
Dang.
yeah, no, fun stuff. But yeah, no. That's about all that I have. Do y'all have anything else that y'all want to explore in this because we got a lot of time. We're moving through this kind of fast. So, do y'all have anything else y'all want to potentially look at? Any other matchups, or do you want to move into super hard Star Wars trivia?
I don't think. Well, I think we have to find a very even matchup, and that's going to be hard to come up with off the top of our heads.
I was gonna say I feel like I've kind of exhausted my even matchups in this
Yeah.
segment, which is making it harder and harder to come up with things to pair up. Which is why I'm kind of going into like the could Superman withstand a blast from the Death Star type stuff rather than like actual character matchups and stuff like
Makes
that.
sense.
I did have one. I have another one. It's Thor's lightning versus Force lightning. What's more powerful?
Ooh.
Who wants to start?
I guess I'll go first then.
Yeah.
I imagine Thor's lightning would win because he is just the god of like lightning and thunder.
Yeah.
So I imagine he would have the most concentrated lightning, and he could probably just absorb the force lightning and use it back against the user.
That's fair. Yeah. No. Yeah. Okay. Christian and Christos. What are y'all's thoughts?
I mean, I think I kind of agree with what John said, but I guess it all really comes down to whether or not like the Force lightning would be, you know, somehow superior to, or like maybe not exactly lightning like by textbook definition.
Yeah.
So it kind of wouldn't be in Thor's realm, and or like if that was the case. But
Mhm.
I think, most likely it's at least similar enough to where, since Thor's the god of thunder, then he'd be able to trump Force lightning.
I'd agree with that. Christos, thoughts?
I'd also say that Thor's lightning would probably win because I mean it's probably easier and more realistic for him to use it a lot as well because I don't know if I remember this correctly, so correct me if I'm wrong, but it does wear the user out, the Jedi lightning and the Sith lightning, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, that's
And
true.
it's probably much harder to maintain. So it kind of feels like it would be weaker since it takes so much like of that energy to actually like fire.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Actually, that's a cool point that I hadn't even thought of. Is that like the power of Force lightning is completely reliant on like kind of the endurance of whoever's using it, and I would agree with the statement that like Force lightning probably like falls into like an umbrella of what Thor is capable of, where Thor is just kind of like unless he for whatever reason doesn't have jurisdiction over Force lightning, like that's probably just like an example of something that Thor could do in an endless possibility of what Thor could do with lightning. And so I would generally agree that Thor's lightning is probably more powerful for that reason. Alrighty, I think that's a solid stopping point for that. Let's move into super hard Star Wars trivia, where essentially I just take really difficult questions from this trivia book that I have. That just I once again I was going to use it for my rank of master questions, but I figured out that it's like really weirdly hard, and so I opted to make a segment out of just kind of how ridiculous some of these questions are. So
It's very funny.
the first one that I have, oh my gosh, I'm literally just not going to be able to pronounce some of these things, and I'd like to point out that most of these things I don't know the answer to myself until I read the answer in the book. But what is Feltipern trevag's species? Is it A, a saurin, B, a given, C, a godel, or D, a patchtihip? Patchtihip.
I've never heard of any of those species before.
Neither had I before this. Actually, I know what one of them is, but everyone just say A, B, C, or D.
C for correct.
I was
B
gonna
because
go with
it's
C.
different.
B because it's different. Yeah, and Christian and Christos, y'all both pick C.
Yeah.
The answer is actually C. And
Come
I
on.
think that's the first
Yeah.
time that anyone's gotten the
Yeah.
correct answer in this segment. So
Go
well
be
done
different
to both of
elsewhere.
Let's
y'all.
go. I heard
Yeah,
Godel
yeah.
and I was like, oh, it has to be. You know.
The Godels are interesting, and Christos, you might not necessarily know, but since John, you and Christian have watched the Clone Wars, the Godel, can y'all think of the guys that kind of talk like goats? Like, I'm trying to think of an example.
Oh, they have like the goatee also.
They have the horns, and like they kind of look like Deveronians, but they kind of like, what do you want? Like those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do
Yeah, I
remember
kind of
that.
remember that now.
Those are Godels, and I didn't know that that's what they were called
Oh.
until I looked it up for this question. But
Huh.
but
The
yeah,
next
no.
species profile.
Fun fact: no, we're not talking about Godels in any of this. That is what's coming out. Oh, actually, we're recording this back on February 3rd, but the next episode after we're recording this one is a species profile. But anyways, all that said, what is Captain Tarple's first name? Captain Tarple is the Gungan captain that we meet in episode 1. Who tells Jar Jar, "You and B do this time."
Oh
Is
boy.
the name A, Gunt, B, Lurdo, C, Ruse, or D, Dooth?
Wait, say his full name?
His name is Captain Tarples, and I'm asking what
Tarpals?
is his
Okay.
Tarples? Yeah, what is his first name? It's
Okay.
blank Tarples.
I want to say A because it sounded really funny.
Gunt. Okay,
Yeah.
that's fair.
I want to say B because John's wrong.
That's
Lurdo.
fair.
I'll say D.
That's amazing because the answer
These
is
are different.
actually C.
Oh my gosh, I was so
Come
close to
on.
saying C.
That
'cause
is-
it went ABC.
Real freaking impressive that y'all chose literally
Everything.
every single answer other than
If
the
anything,
one.
it's more impressive that we didn't get it
Yeah.
right.
No, we did it on
That's what I'm
purpose.
saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that it was completely intentional. I can respect that.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, it's Ruse Tarples, and once again, Captain Tarples is the Gungan captain that we see first in the Phantom Menace, and then we also see him a bit in the Clone Wars. And unfortunately, this is a bit of a spoiler, but he actually gets killed by General Grievous, and it's actually really sad. It's not a huge spoiler, but it is a little bit of one. But anyways, okay. Next up, I have what color is Nelavian? No, Nel. It's not gonna matter if I pronounce this correctly, but I want to Nelvanian. What color is Nelvanian fur? Is it A, yellow, B, blue, C, red, or D, orange?
I'm gonna go with blue because I like blue.
Blue. Okay.
Wait, which one's blue?
Blue
Which-
is B.
that's B.
Oh, and I changed my answer to D.
D. Okay.
I'll go with what A was yellow, C was red.
Yeah.
I mean, you could go one of our options too. You don't have to.
It's C. I want to go C.
The answer is actually B. It's blue. So John is correct.
Oh.
I have no idea what a Nelvanian is actually. Actually, I'm gonna look it up real fast because I don't know. I don't know what half these things are. But I came up with this question like right before we came on. Yeah, I have no idea what this is. It looks like a wolf, kinda.
Oh, cool.
Oh, wait, did y'all watch the Clone Wars 2003, the 2D animation one?
No.
No.
The one that was made by like
I know about it though.
Well,
And I
these
know it's on
guys
Disney Plus.
It is on Disney Plus. I would actually highly recommend it. It's not canon, but it's here. Once again, I'm gonna do something that's kind of generally frowned upon. Wait, can y'all see me, or am I frozen?
And you
We're-
unfroze
You
for me.
are not frozen.
Okay, cool.
You are
So
frozen.
it's these guys.
Okay.
These guys that have like they're kind of wolf-like, and essentially in the
Weird.
2D animated Clone Wars show, they team up with Anakin and Obi-Wan, and Anakin helps to like free them from the Techno Union, who's like experimenting on them and turning them into like cybernetic soldiers and like mutating them and stuff. And so they use like leeches to like put blue markings on Anakin and stuff. It's kind of it's a trippy time. But I would recommend the 2003 Clone Wars. It's a pretty kind of outrageous show and in like the level of like action that it has.
Yeah.
But
I've seen Mace
it's
Windu just destroy some battle droids in that.
yeah.
Like, I've just seen the clips. It's hilarious.
Yeah. It's a really cool show. It's kind of like I said, kind of extreme in like the action that it has, but it's a really cool time and it's not canon, so it doesn't affect anything. But yes, it is available on Disney Plus in the Star Wars tab if you want to go check that out. Well, that's about all that I have for that. Do y'all want to talk about anything? Christos, what are your thoughts like as a Star Wars kind of novice? I'm putting you on the spot. I didn't tell you that I was going to ask this. But like what are your general feelings about Star Wars and Star Wars fans like me that are really into it? Like
Wait, my feeling about Star Wars fans?
I don't know. Star Wars in general, Star Wars
I like
fans.
Star Wars. I think I watched it at least one time.
That's fair.
No, I mean like every movie. I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
that bad because there's some people that I like only watch a movie, but I've watched every single movie. I liked it, I enjoyed it. I would watch it again actually. Just
Cool.
And
not
we
as
got our
much.
next movie night planned out.
No.
Never
Dude,
mind. I
We're
hate
not
it.
We
having
could watch the Clone Wars movie for next movie night.
Oh my gosh, the Clone
Please
Wars
no.
movie. The Clone
Why
Wars
not?
movie is goated.
Fate.
Is
It's
it?
great.
The Clone Wars, no, it's not. The Clone Wars movie is. I don't hate it, but it's not. It's by no means indicative of like the show as a whole.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
nostalgic purposes, I really like it, but as a movie itself, it's.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
great.
I think when I started watching the Clone Wars back when it was on Netflix, like the week before it got removed, I binged watched all of it.
Yeah,
And then when I finished it, I realized that I'd never watched the Clone Wars movie
like
because I
ever.
didn't know that it took place first. No, I think I had seen it when I was really little because
Okay.
I watched it and I remembered it. Like I think I went into the Clone Wars already knowing who Ahsoka was.
Yeah, that's fair.
So it's not like I hadn't seen it, but I watched all of the Clone Wars and then watched the movie and realized, oh, this happens before.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yep.
No, I remember. And fun fact: the Clone Wars movie was actually supposed to be the first 3 episodes of the show, and then they ended up opting for a feature film type thing and a theatrical release, which is an interesting thing. It didn't do super well, but then the show obviously did amazing. So, what
Well,
was
I
that,
think it
Joe?
took a bit for the show to do amazing, right?
The first season, well, yeah. I mean, it was more of a passion project for George Lucas. I think it actually lost money in the long run.
Really?
Yeah, well, dude, I mean, the quality of it. And sorry, Christos, you should watch the Clone Wars, and then you can have conversations like this with
You
us.
should.
And if you sorry, I'm sidetracking a little bit, but if you're a beginner and you don't want to watch all 7 seasons of the Clone Wars in every single season, then Twin Sun Talks actually has a way to make watching the Clone Wars easy and manageable by using our roadmap, which we explain in episodes 2 and 3 of this podcast. And then also it's available on our website, twinsuntalks.wixsite.com/twin-sun, and also in our Instagram posts at the very beginning. But anyways, all that to say, if you consider like how detailed the animation gets and how large scale all of the stories are by the end of the Clone Wars, like for a TV show, like that's insane. And
Yeah.
and the money that's going into it is like, I mean, it's not conducive to like TV show ratings. And because they used a full orchestra for every single like score that they had, which is unheard of for TV shows.
Yeah, that seems a bit excessive. Glad they did. Great music, but
I was gonna say, and
bit
Kevin,
excessive.
I think that Kevin Kiner does a great job too. I'm gonna do an episode about Star Wars music sometime in the future. I think I'm gonna have some people on and talk about that on an ability to speak in the future, just because there's so much to talk about, and I think that it's something that I think Star Wars fans really appreciate, but I think that people that are kind of casual don't really appreciate. And this isn't shade at casual people, Christos, but like they just don't really appreciate the impact that the music has on the story and on the experience as a whole. And I think that we've had some really amazing people between obviously the GOAT, John Williams, but then also Kevin Kiner and Ludwig Göransson. I think that everyone's brought a really cool like flavor of music to Star Wars. But all that to say, this was a very big tangent. But yeah, all that to say, Christos, we're happy to have you on. We appreciate you coming on, even though you don't know quite as much. And if you'd like to watch the Clone Wars, then you can use my roadmap. And if you wouldn't, that's perfectly fine as well. But I think that you would enjoy it. I think that most people would enjoy the Clone Wars. And I think that if you're looking for something as like a casual fan to watch, The Mandalorian might be better. But I think that shows like the Clone Wars and Rebels would like at least enhance your experience while watching The Mandalorian.
Definitely.
Definitely for the second season of Mandalorian.
Yes,
Definitely.
there's a lot
There's-
of callbacks in them. Yeah.
Yeah.
But and I would also say Book of Boba Fett a little bit too. And I know that
Mhm.
Christian, you haven't watched Book of Boba Fett yet.
Nope.
But
You
I
can
know-
binge it next week.
Exactly.
That's the plan.
When we're recording this, we have one episode left in the Book of Boba Fett, and we're really excited because the
So
last
good.
episode
It's
was
so
really, really
good.
good.
It was
Yeah.
so good, man.
Yeah. But all that to say, I think that the other shows really enhance the experience, but at the same time, I think that The Mandalorian is a much more like palatable show for people that haven't experienced Star Wars in its entirety. And I think that it's really easy to just jump in and watch that, and you might not get a couple references, but it's not going to detract from your experience at all. So Mandalorian's a really strong show, and there's also a lot. There are only 16 episodes, so it's really easy to get through pretty fast.
You get through
Um,
real fast.
Exactly. But okay, that's about all that I have for This Is Where the Fun Begins, and I think it's time for us to do our rank of master quizzes.
You are on this council, but we do not grant you the rank of master.
So if you're new to the podcast, what the rank of master is essentially it's a 3-question quiz that I give to my guests whenever they come on the pod, and there are several different ranks that you can attain. You start out as a youngling, then you go up to Padawan, then knight, and then master. Once you're a master, you can challenge me for the rank of grandmaster. But you have to complete all of your quizzes to get up there, and you have to pass them in order to go on to the next rank. And the grading system that I use is completely ambiguous, and I go off of vibes. I tend to allow my personal opinions of you as a person sway my decision on whether or not you should go to the next rank. And I am much like the real Jedi Council in that way. So with all that said, Christian and Christos, y'all are both younglings because you've never been on the podcast before. So y'all are going to be getting the same quiz, kind of like how I did with John and Hamza in my first ever ability to speak. I'm going to say the question. Y'all are going to text them to me separately, your answers. And then after you text them to me, I will allow y'all to answer. And a little word of advice. I think that it's very beneficial if you don't know the answer to kind of talk about like subjects that you might find Star Wars adjacent. Like, you know what I mean? Like if you don't know the name of a character, but you know someone who's like associated with them, you can talk about them just to show that you have a little bit of knowledge, even if it's not about the question specifically. Just because I try to accommodate for people knowing different things about Star Wars, because I know that not everyone knows the same like niche. But anyways, so Christian and Christos, are y'all ready for y'all's quiz?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
All right, sounds good. So y'all are both younglings trying to move up to Padawan. Question number 1. What was the name of the sport that Anakin excelled at when he was a slave on Tatooine? So go ahead and shoot me a text. And then once I have both of y'all's texts, then I will allow y'all to answer. So, and once again, if you don't know exactly what it's called, but you know kind of the context of it, then that would be pretty beneficial to explain. And I'm trying my best to keep talking so we don't have dead space. But Christos,
Hey, I can talk with you. I'm not
has
answering
not
any
sent
questions.
in. Okay. So we have both answers in. I'm going to let Christos give his answer first. So Christos, could you explain your answer, please?
Can I hear the question again, please? Thank you.
Yes, you may. What was the name of the sport that Anakin excelled at when he was a slave on Tatooine?
It has to be. It's like at the tip of my tongue. Well, I'll just go with what I had. Quidditch.
Quidditch.
Do you remember the context at all? Because
No.
I swear,
I don't know.
no.
I don't remember this. I don't.
You
I
talked
don't
about
remember
it
when he was a
earlier in the
slave.
podcast.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
mentioned it.
literally, you mentioned it
Which
earlier.
one was it? He was a slave. I don't remember Anakin being a slave.
Okay, do you remember like?
Oh, was it with the racing cars?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was a slave for that? I didn't think
He was a slave during that. He actually won
okay.
his freedom with that race. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
Okay,
could you
well,
tell me
I
a little
remember.
bit about the race?
Oh. I remember that he was he doing work on it, maybe? On the
Yeah.
vehicle he was using?
Yeah.
I remember that. I think it was quite violent, maybe? Like, I don't remember.
These are all true statements.
They are? Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's just, I don't remember the details, but I do remember that.
That's fair. Okay. Yeah.
Like a couple scenes I remember, yeah.
You got an idea. Okay.
I remember kind of
and
what
then,
it looks like.
That's fair. And then Christian, what is your answer?
My answer is pod racing.
That is correct.
Because, whenever Christos was talking about it, I almost said, like, oh yeah, when he says like, now this is pod racing,
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
then I
yeah.
realized now that if I'd said that, maybe Christos would have remembered it.
He brought it up earlier, and I was like, oh, so he's gonna get that question.
He's gonna
Nice.
get it. Yes.
No, I wouldn't have remembered the name, but yeah,
It's
okay,
okay.
I do remember.
And
okay.
proper nouns are hard.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Christos, I might have you actually. Well, I think these are actually technically all far for noun questions. But Christos, I might have you try and like help me like feel out what questions are fair or not for like beginners, because I try to make this first quiz very beginner friendly, and so I don't know what's hard or not. So I might have you help me out with that in the future. But so okay, Christian, you're 1 for 1. Christos, you're 0 for 1 going into question 2. What is the name of the space station used by the Empire to destroy the planet of Alderaan?
Oh, so this is
So-
beginner friendly?
This is beginner friendly.
Okay, 1 second.
But go ahead and text me your answers before you say them out loud. But
I think
yeah,
y'all got this. Y'all definitely got this.
I think so too. Okay, I got Christian's answer in, and we're just waiting on Christos.
Oh, my bad. The
If you need a little help,
station.
it was mentioned in this episode.
I think we've mentioned maybe all of these. Well, no. Well, actually, no, we didn't mention the third one. Okay. Christian, I'll let you answer this one first.
All right, I'd have to say it's the Death Star.
Oh, let's go. Sorry.
Let's
keep-
go.
I wonder if Christos got it.
Christos, would you like
Based
to
on
say
that
your
reaction.
answer now?
My answer was the Death Star.
Heck yeah, man.
Let's
Heck
go.
Yeah. We both got that one correct.
That took
I
me-
feel
that
like
took me
that
a
one
second.
was a pretty easy one. Christos,
Yeah,
whenever you're
that's
asking
too
if this
easy.
was a beginner question, was that were you thrown off by my mention of the planet Alderaan?
Yeah. Yeah, I just heard
That's-
the name. I was like, oh. And I
That's-
didn't.
yeah.
Okay, well, no, that was okay. That was fine.
No, you're good. That's actually Princess Leia's home world. So
Okay.
a little helpful. Helpful context there. And then okay, so Christos, you're 1 for 2. Christos, you're 2 for 2 going into the final question, question 3. And this question is, who was Kylo Ren's father? Go ahead and send me your answers via text.
Oh no, give me a
message.
second for this one because I know.
Yeah, this is definitely the type of question Christos will know, but he'll have to think real hard.
No, I do know. I just don't remember his name. One second.
It's
Oh
pretty.
no, I got it.
It's,
I got it.
it's a pretty significant plot point in
I got it.
in the sequel trilogy.
I got it.
Yeah.
Unless if that's wrong.
Alrighty.
If that's wrong, I don't want to answer.
Okay. Well, Christos, you can say your answer. Why not?
Well, I might have gotten the dudes mixed up, but I said Han Solo.
Okay, Christian, what did you say?
Han Solo.
Oh, let's go.
That is correct.
Let's
Oh,
go.
I actually
Alrighty.
remember that.
That was actually rather impressive. Okay, so Christian, you went 3 for 3. Christos, you went 2 for 3. But it's understandable that you wouldn't necessarily remember the term pod racing. It's mentioned a couple times throughout the movie, but it's never really brought up again. But you did get the other 2 questions correct. So I would say both of y'all have earned the rank of Padawan. So congratulations to both
Let's
of y'all.
go.
How do y'all feel?
I feel
Never mind,
fantastic.
and
I'm so glad to hear that.
Super.
Yeah, so congratulations. You are free from the clutches of the Young Slayer 9000. And I think that that's something to celebrate. Um, and for context, I do try for at least the first quiz to ask questions from every single trilogy, so prequels, original trilogy, and sequels, just to accommodate for fans that might not know certain eras quite as well. But y'all killed it. Y'all both did really well. So well done. And now it's time for John's quiz. John,
Oh boy.
you are currently a Padawan. You're trying to get up to the rank of knight and join Mr. Scott Fonseca and Mr. Shondo. They're our current knights on the channel, and then Jeb Blue is our only master.
Yeah, I'm a bit worried.
But I wouldn't be worried. Padawan quizzes are a little tougher, but they're not too bad. And John, since you're the only one taking this, then you can answer out loud. Same thing with the context stuff. If you don't know the answer exactly and you want to talk your way through it, then feel free to do that. But
All right.
question number 1 in your Rank of Master quiz to go up tonight. What is the proper name for the rolling battle droids known casually as destroyers or rollies?
Okay, if I'm not overthinking this, I'm pretty sure they're called droidicas, and they have the force shield around them, right? Am I
That is
remembering that
correct.
correctly? All
You
right.
are remembering that correctly, and they are called droidicas. And we see them for the first time in the Phantom Menace episode 1, and they're released on the Trade Federation ship to intercept Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi whenever they're trying to enter the bridge of the ship and get Nute Gunray and stuff.
Mhm.
So that is correct. You're 1 for 1 going into
go.
question number 2. What species native to Ryloth is plagued by slavery characterized by colorful skin and head tails called Leku?
Okay, this one. I think if I remember Ryloth correctly, once again, I'm so bad with proper nouns. I want to say these are the Twi'leks, right? I'm pretty sure.
That would be correct. Yes.
All right.
And we see Ryloth. Twi'leks are very common in the Star Wars galaxy. They're very much humanoid, but they have colorful skin and they have the twin head tails. And we first see Ryloth in the first season of the Clone Wars in the last few episodes before the Cad Bane episode. But it's that's where we meet Cham Syndulla, some members of the species include Cham Syndulla, Hera Syndulla, Aayla Secura. And if you want to learn a bit more about Twi'leks, you can listen to my first species profile.
That's probably the only reason I remembered that they're from Ryloth. That's probably the only reason.
Hey man, that's very fair. But yeah, I have a whole playlist created for my species profiles on my YouTube channel, and then you can go back. I don't remember what episode it was, but you'll be able to find it. Just look up Twin Sun Talk species profiles, and you should be able to find it on YouTube. But okay, John, you're 2 for 2 going into question number 3, and this is your final question. Which of Luke Skywalker's hands did Darth Vader chop off in Empire Strikes Back? I just had a lisp there, and it wasn't even the place where I should have a lisp.
I'm trying to picture the scene because I don't remember specifically. I know it's probably comes up again, but I'm trying to think. If I remember the scene correctly, he's holding on to the railing with his right hand, so I want to say it's his left hand that gets cut off. But it could have been his right hand that gets cut off, which is why, because I think I remember him grasping his hand, so it wouldn't have mattered if he was holding on to it with his right hand.
Can you picture Luke in the sequel trilogy? Because he has his robotic hand like out on display in those movies, so that might help you.
Honestly, no. I don't remember specifically what hand it is. That's one of the things where I just like, oh, he has a robotic hand, and I forget which one it is. I want to say it's probably his left hand, because I'm pretty sure I remember in the scene he's grabbing onto the railing with his right hand. So I want to say it was his left hand.
That is unfortunately incorrect. He's actually it's his right hand. I don't really know how to contextualize that, but if you think about it, in The Force Awakens, whenever we see him, the reveal, when he turns around, his hand that's closest to the camera and we're looking at him. The hand that's closest to the side that we're looking at him on is the robotic hand, which is the right hand. And there's also a scene in the Force or the Last Jedi trailer where it's a shot from the right profile of him receiving the lightsaber, and
Man,
it's also his right hand.
unfortunate.
But hey, you went 2 for 3, which is pretty darn solid. And I think that you really knew your stuff. And that one was a little bit tricky because it was a 50-50 shot.
Yep.
So I think shot in the dark is a fair thing. And so I think that you have, in fact, earned the right to move up to the rank of knight. So congratulations, Sean. How do you feel?
I feel great. I appreciate your pity. So thank you.
Hey, man, it's all good. I've had people do worse and move
Yeah.
up.
And
for
your
less,
biases
so.
do affect your decision.
They do, in fact. They do, in fact. So yeah, I don't want anyone questioning my decisions to move people up or not move people up. But that being said, that's about all that I have for the Rank of Master. Does anyone have any final thoughts? Cool. Okay, let's move into a little bit more. Alrighty. So, what I have for y'all today comes from my source book called Star Wars Absolutely Everything You Need to Know, Updated and Expanded. It's something that I pull from quite a bit. And it's that Trade Federation battleships can carry up to 139,000 battle droids.
Sounds like so many.
It is a lot of battle droids. And the Trade Federation battleships are the ships that kind of look like donuts, like quarter-eaten donuts. That we see in both the Phantom Menace as well as I think pretty much all the prequels and in the Clone Wars. So that's about all that I have. Christian, John, Christos, anybody have anything else that they'd like to say before we wrap things up?
No, I just want to thank you for having us on. It was pretty fun.
It was fun. Appreciate y'all humoring me on this dreary winter day. So, alrighty then. Well, that being said, y'all have taken your first steps into a larger world. May the Force be with you, and I will see y'all in the next episode. Bye, friends.